In the heart of the sprawling savannah, where the golden grasses sway to the rhythm of the wind, there was a kingdom named Umoja. Umoja was known for its beauty and the harmony among its people. Yet, like any other place, it had its share of secrets and untold stories. This is one such story. In a humble corner of the kingdom, under the shadow of a mighty baobab tree, lived a beggar named Juma. His days were spent asking for alms and his nights under the canopy of stars, with nothing but his tattered blanket for warmth. Despite his rugged appearance, Juma had a heart full of dreams and a spirit that could not be broken. His eyes, dark and deep, held a spark of kindness and wisdom that belied his circumstances. One day, as Juma was making his rounds in the bustling marketplace, his gaze was drawn to a figure unlike any he had seen before. It was Princess Amina, the only daughter of King Bohoti. With skin as smooth as ebony and eyes that glistened like the stars, she moved with grace and dignity. Her laughter was like the tinkling of 1,000 tiny bells, and wherever she went, joy followed. Princess Amina was loved by all, not just for her beauty but for her compassion. She often ventured into the marketplace, disguised in simple clothes, to understand the lives of her people. It was on one such day that Juma first laid eyes on her. He watched as she interacted with the merchants, her face lighting up at the stories they told, her hands extending to help the needy. His heart skipped a beat. Days turned into weeks, and Juma found himself looking forward to the days when Princess Amina would visit the market. He noticed every little detail about her, the way she tucked a stray lock of hair behind her ear, the way she smiled with her whole heart. But he knew he was just a beggar, and she, a princess. The chasm between their worlds was insurmountable. One day, as fate would have it, Amina noticed Juma. He was different from the other beggars. There was something noble about him, something that tugged at her heartstrings. She walked up to him and asked, "What is your name, good sir?" Juma, taken aback by her directness, stammered, I am Juma, your highness." Amina smiled warmly. "Please, call me Amina. Tell me, Juma, what is your story?" No one had ever asked Juma about his past. He took a deep breath and began, "I was once a farmer. My family owned a small piece of land. We were happy, but then came the drought. We lost everything. My parents fell ill and passed away. I had no choice but to come to the city to survive." Amina listened intently, her heart aching for him. "You have endured much," she said softly. "But I see strength in you, Juma. Strength and kindness." From that day on, Amina and Juma would often talk whenever she visited the marketplace. They shared stories, dreams, and hopes. Amina found solace in Juma's presence, and Juma, for the first time in years, felt a flicker of hope. Their bond grew stronger, and soon, it was not just Amina who looked forward to their meetings, but Juma too. However, word of their growing friendship soon reached the palace. King Bohoti was furious. A princess consorting with a beggar? "This is unacceptable," he roared. He summoned Amina and forbade her from seeing Juma again. Amina was heartbroken. She tried to reason with her father, but he was adamant. "You are a princess, Amina. Your duty is to this kingdom. You cannot throw away your future for a beggar." Determined not to give up on Juma, Amina devised a plan. She would meet him one last time and tell him everything. Disguised as a commoner, she slipped out of the palace at night and hurried to the marketplace. When Juma saw her, he knew something was wrong. Amina's eyes were filled with tears. "Juma," she began, her voice trembling, "my father has forbidden me from seeing you. He says a princess and a beggar can never be together." Juma's heart sank. He had feared this moment, but hearing it from Amina was unbearable. "I understand," he said quietly. "You are a princess, and I am but a beggar. Our worlds are different." Amina shook her head. No, Juma. Our hearts are the same. I will not let this end here. I will find a way. With that, she pressed a small, carved wooden pendant into his hand. Keep this, she whispered. It is a symbol of my promise. No matter what happens, I will come back for you. Tears streamed down Amina's face as she turned and disappeared into the night. Juma clutched the pendant tightly, a glimmer of hope still flickering in his heart. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Amina was kept under strict watch, and Juma's life returned to its lonely routine. But the pendant around his neck was a constant reminder of the princess's promise. One day, news spread like wildfire through Umoja. King Bohoti had fallen gravely ill. The kingdom was in turmoil, and Amina was forced to take on more responsibilities. Despite the chaos, she never forgot her promise to Juma. She knew the only way to be with him was to change her father's mind. Amina approached the king's advisors with a plan. She proposed that the kingdom organize a grand festival to celebrate Umoja's unity and strength. She hoped this festival would bring joy to her father and soften his heart. The advisors agreed, and preparations began. Amina insisted that everyone, regardless of their status, be invited to the festival. She made sure Juma received an invitation. The day of the festival arrived. The kingdom was decorated with vibrant colors, music filled the air, and the aroma of delicious food wafted through the streets. People from all walks of life came together to celebrate. Juma, dressed in his cleanest clothes, nervously made his way to the palace. He could hardly believe he was there. As he entered the grand hall, his eyes searched for Amina. There she was, standing by her father's side, looking radiant. King Bohoti, though still weak, managed to smile as he watched his people celebrate. Amina seized the moment. She led her father to the balcony overlooking the hall and began to speak. People of Umoja, she began, her voice strong and clear, today we celebrate our unity and strength. But true strength comes from compassion and understanding. It comes from seeing beyond the surface and recognizing the heart within. She turned to her father, her eyes pleading. Father, you taught me that a true leader serves their people with love and kindness. Today, I ask you to see what I see. Look at Juma, not as a beggar, but as a man with a noble heart. The hall fell silent. All eyes turned to Juma, who stood, overwhelmed and humbled. King Bohoti gazed at Juma, and for the first time, he saw not a beggar, but a man of strength and dignity. The king's eyes softened, and he took Amina's hand. My daughter, he said, his voice trembling, you have shown me the true meaning of leadership. If this man has captured your heart, then he must be special indeed. Tears of joy filled Amina's eyes as she embraced her father. She rushed to Juma, her heart soaring. Juma, she whispered, we can be together. Juma could hardly believe his ears. He took Amina's hand, his heart full of gratitude and love. The people of Umoja cheered, their voices rising in celebration of love that transcended all barriers. From that day forward, Juma was no longer seen as a beggar. He was welcomed into the palace, not as a prince, but as a man who had won the heart of the princess with his kindness and resilience. King Bohoti's health gradually improved, and he ruled with a newfound wisdom, inspired by his daughter's courage and compassion. The kingdom of Umoja thrived, not just in prosperity, but in unity and love. Juma and Amina's love story became a legend, a tale passed down through generations. It was a story that reminded everyone that true love knows no boundaries and that the heart sees what the eyes cannot. And so, under the watchful eyes of the ancient baobab tree and the endless African sky, the beggar and the princess lived their days in joy and harmony, their love a beacon of hope and inspiration for all.